The 2.7 liter EcoBoost is one of the most powerful engines available in a half ton. It makes 325 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque. Let's take a look under the hood and find out why this engine is so powerful per cubic inch. So number one of my favorite features on this engine is the fact that it has water-cooled exhaust manifolds. What that means is instead of having a standard exhaust manifold bolted to the heads, the exhaust runners are actually cast as part of the heads and surrounded by the water jacket. So the turbo bolts right to the side of the head, bringing it closer to the exhaust valves, meaning less turbo lag, cooler exhaust hitting the turbos. And essentially, because the exhaust is cooler when it hits the turbos, that means less fuel has to be dumped into the engine in order to cool the exhaust down. So it doesn't have to run as rich, it can be more efficient, and in turn make a lot more power per cubic inch. If you look down in there, you can see that the engine or the turbos here are bolted right to the side of the engine, and there are no exhaust manifolds that you can see because they are cast into the head. Also aiding this engine in making so much power per cubic inch, on top of being turbocharged, it has a lot of compression. It has 10.5 to 1 compression ratio, and a lot of that is because of the direct injection. Because the fuel can be injected at the perfect time, there's less chance of pre-ignition. Also, the fuel's under so much pressure. There's a mechanical fuel pump here on the engine, and it ramps the pressure up so high as it hits the orifice of the fuel injector. It comes out in a spray, in a mist, in a cooling action, helping it cool off the cylinder as the fuel's injected, and allowing the engine to run 87 octane with all this compression and turbocharging and with no problems at all. We actually have been running 87 octane in our EcoBoost engines and had zero issues with pre-ignition or detonation of any kind. It's recommended to run premium when towing, but I've run regular while towing and had no issues. With the second generation EcoBoost, there's the addition of dual injection, which helped with the carbon building up on the intake valves, which was an issue for earlier EcoBoost engines that were just direct injected. Well, it was an issue for all direct injected engines, but with the addition of another injector here, spraying the backside of the intake valves, hopefully to keep them clean, and so far it seems to be a good solution for the issue. Twin variable valve timing, so the intake valve is adjustable, or the intake cams are adjustable independently from the exhaust cams. So there's two cam phasers. This actually allows the engine to make a lot more low end torque and a lot more horsepower. With the release of the second gen 2.7 EcoBoost, you have the hollowed out camshafts and dual chain timing system. So if you're looking at an EcoBoost engine and can get a second gen 2.7 or 3.5, it's probably a good idea to go with the second gen. If you look here at the front of the motor, on the front cover here, you can see there is a water-cooled oil cooler right there, cartridge style oil filter bolted. Well, this is cast into the front cover, but the water cooled oil cooler is right there bolted to the front cover. There's a lot of stuff going on here in the front cover. Oil pressure actually flows through the front cover, and like I said, it houses your oil filter. You have a composite intake, which is weight saving. One of the cool things about this engine block is it is a two-piece engine block, but don't let that scare you. It's not like the crankshaft is in a different section than the pistons. Essentially, the crankshaft is secured to the compacted graphite iron block via fractured main bearing caps. So during the machining process, the caps to hold the crankshaft down were actually fractured from the engine, and when they were resecured, it fits together like a puzzle, almost like a broken rock. If you were to break a rock in half and put it back together, each and every particle mates together to make a perfect seal. And that is how the main bearings are held together. So even though this is a two-piece engine block, all the rotating assembly is bolted to a compacted graphite iron core, and it has a structural front cover that is all aluminum that houses your oil filter cartridge. It houses your water pump and all your accessories. It has oil pressure running through it. It's also structural. And there's also a girdle on the bottom of the engine, which would be the lower section, and that adds rigidity while not being as heavy as the compacted graphite iron. Does it mean that it's built like a diesel? And I don't think it is built like a diesel just because of that, but the use of the compacted graphite iron is great, while the aluminum sections allow the engine to be lightweight. I think it's a good design, and it's so far proven to be a pretty strong design. There's not too many or any issues from the two-piece engine block that I've heard of, but comment below if you've heard of some issues with this engine. This is one of the most powerful per cubic inch engines that you can get. The only downside is the displacement is only 2.7 liters. It'd be interesting to see what the results would be if Ford carried this architecture across all the engines, but I'd imagine they have to kind of hold on to the 3.5 Ecoboost design because there's so much invested into it. This really doesn't share any parts with the 3.5 Ecoboost. The 3.5 is going to have some stronger internals. It's going to have some stronger rods and maybe a stronger crank. This does use I-beam connecting rods, so they're pretty good. Fracture caps on the connecting rods, I believe. Oil cooling jets on every cylinder. Pretty strong little engine. Is very compact. It fits in a lot of different applications. Fits in cars. It's going to be going in a new Bronco, which is cool. But if you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel, guys. Share this video if you know anybody looking for an F-150 or a new Bronco or anything like that. More on this engine. It has 325 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque. If a 5.0 made this much horsepower per cubic inch, it would have just over 600 horsepower, which is interesting. When you check the oil on one of these engines, because it has start-stop technology, you have to wait at least 15 minutes for the oil to settle, or else you won't get an accurate reading. And that is why you hear sometimes people will accidentally overfill these engines with oil, because they are checking the oil and not letting it settle long enough. So there's been cases where these engines would end up with like 8 or 9 quarts of oil instead of 6 quarts of oil. The front of the engine here is designed to allow airflow into the grill, up through the grill, and into the snorkel, which is fitted to the hood. So it's almost like a ram air design right into the filter here. You can see the turbo's a little bit better on this side, how there's no exhaust manifolds. You can just see that the turbo is right there next to the head, and there's no sign of any exhaust manifolds. But overall, this is one of my favorite engines. It's been great. We've had these engines in a number of different vehicles. We've never had an issue, but if you have one of these engines and had some issues, let me know, because I'm kind of curious what those problems might be. Let's take a look under here. I think 2018, with the release of the second generation EcoBoost, saw the addition of an EGR system. Let's see here. Look in there. That might be what that is right there. But as you can see, your turbo is bolted right to the side of the cylinder head. Pretty interesting. But anyway, guys, that's it for the engine. Let's take a quick look at the truck here. Here's our 19 F-150. It's a special edition. It's got red stripe seat belts, red stripe here on the steering wheel, and it's got red stripe on the shifter on the center console. Not on the dashboard. It would have it on the dashboard if it were a Lariat, but this is a 302 XLT. My wife, this is her truck. She loves the truck. It has tons of room here in the back for the car seats for the kiddies, and she's been pretty happy with the truck. But anyway, guys, comment below, tell me what you think. This is DS Trucks. My name is Sean, Subscribe if you like this kind of content. We've got tons of truck content on our channel. We also have our 2019 F250 here on the channel, and as you can see, we have our 19 150, and we also have a 2018 F150 back there. I've done this video before, but I wanted to do an updated version. The audio wasn't that good on the first version. There was a little bit of wind noise, and it was like 3 years ago. It wasn't with the second gen EcoBoost. But if I missed any cool features under the hood, let me know in the comment section. But I hope to hear you or see you guys in the next video, and I hope to see you in the comment section. Anyway, this is DS Trucks, where we run nothing but the best. Over and out, and see you next time.